Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Pickford, and it is my pleasure to welcome Nicole Maurice to my living room this afternoon. And Nicole and I are talking all things spiritual. And I do have one question that I'm going to ask her that I ask everybody, and you probably know what it is. But Nicole, welcome, and it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for having me here.
Not a problem. Now, Nicole comes from Tasmania, which is one of the states of Australia. So she is pretty much just over the sea from me here in New Zealand. So Nicole, tell us, how did you get into spiritual things? What started you off on your journey?
Well, I think I was always interested. From a young age, I had like almost a knowing, but I didn't trust myself. But I went to my first reader very, very young. So readers were quite instrumental in my life. And I think that was also because I wasn't very confident. So I was looking for answers. And what I found was answers. As we'd gone along, I'd had readings and a lot of things had come true. And I started to see that there was value in what these people were doing, and I found it almost more beneficial than having counselling sessions.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For me, yeah. I'm not saying don't rule out counselling because that has its value, but definitely. And whether it was because I was meant to be on this path, maybe. But I also did a lot of groups and workshops as well, and just exploring and reading, thirst for exploring and reading. And I was always kind of the odd one out, most people were just doing life while I was over here exploring all the, the weird and wonderful. And I guess it was the mystery of it all. And, and even now it's kind of that unknown.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you talk about having a reading as opposed to having counselling, because I remember asking a friend years ago if she knew anybody who was a spiritual counsellor. And now I look back on that occasion and I think to myself, well, when you go for a reading, though, often they will give you advice. And I agree, it is like counselling. So having a reading is pretty much the same thing as my book is spiritual counselling. Maybe I just haven't had any spiritual counselling, so I don't know what the difference is.
Well, I've definitely, one of my counsellors, and that was one of the reasons why I went to her, was that she was on the spiritual side. And what led me to her was dream interpretation. So I was having some pretty intense dreams, which were something I couldn't deal with on my own. So I started to explore, it was getting to the point where I was a bit of an emotional basket case and I needed some help. So, but she was on the alternative, and she has helped me and been in my life for 20 years. Yeah.
Wow.
She's retired now, but whenever I've had times in my life, she's always been there to help me and guide me and bring me back to myself as well too. And I think that was, one of the powerful aspects of someone that works a little bit alternatively as well, in opening my mind to different ways.
Yeah, and cool too that because we don't stay the same over a period of 20 years, and so she would have changed and you would have changed, but I think how wonderful it is that you've still got something there between you that works. It's
That's not saying I didn't see other people. I definitely had other people, but I think because she knew the story and she knew me and she knew my growth and she could track my growth as well, and she was very helpful in helping me see my growth or my, where I was flat, not growing and doing, things that I probably shouldn't have been doing too.
So tell us about what was happening in your life, or how did it happen that you realized you were intuitive? Had there been a series of incidents, or did you just wake up one morning and put two and two together and think, how did it happen?
look, I think it built, as I said, I always thought it sort of had a knowing. There was something inside me. And I guess just as things happened, it just made me become more aware.
Yeah.
And also noticed, I think, the more I healed, so the more I worked on my stuff and healing my emotional and opening my mind, the more my intuitive ability grew. That's something. And because I was willing, I think, to learn and develop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But and obviously, again, going back to, so I did go to a spiritual group, or I think it was about 2006. And I remember we did psychometry, and I held someone's watch or a ring or something, and I got all these intense feelings, and it really scared me. And and that was the other thing. A lot of this scared me. I was almost, and I did a meditation in that group. I had a channeling, and when I went in, everything was black, and I thought there was something wrong with me, because my third eye was completely closed and not open. So yeah, so in that, when I felt, and I felt, because I've now realized I'm empathic, and it's one of my gifts, but at the time, to experience that and then to try and make sense of that, but I look back on that experience and going, I already knew then, you know. But it was just a matter of learning and really trusting. For me, has been probably, and still is the hugest thing, in trusting those intuitive knowings or insights, but also having a clear mind and a clear energy and a clear body, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yes. Yeah. So it's like a hollow bone, isn't it? You've got nothing there for stuff to get hooked up on, or to divert its course, or whatever. Yeah.
And surrender. So another thing's coming to mind, where I went to a meditation group, and look, Spirit, as I must say, has been instrumental with me over the years as well, to help me get out of my own way. Very much so. So, you know, there's an essence of, you know, me wanting to be in control or in charge, where they've gone, okay, and they've shown me ways that they work through me, so I could be the channel and we could work in conjunction with each other. And that happened in a spiritual group, where they came in and started clearing energy, and I basically couldn't move. And it was a little bit scary for all of us. I know it was for my greatest good and highest good, but we're all a bit, you know, whoa, that was
Yes.
full on. So I've had a lot of experiences like that have been quite strong.
Wow, you're lucky, actually, because I don't. Well, although it mightn't have felt like it at the time, but you're the only person with whom I've spoken who has ever, you know, talked about these things being frightening. But yeah, if you're like me, you jump in the deep end and you sink or swim, and obviously you swam. So,
well, it's taken me a long time to swim, for sure, because it was that trust and fear that were not understanding, but also other people's opinions and influences and all of that sort of thing as well. So that's been a journey as well.
So how does your intuition make itself known? Like, you know, I will get flashes, I'll get a vision that lasts that long, or I'll get a knowing, or once in a blue moon I'll feel something in my body, but it's, just because I feel it that way doesn't mean that everybody else does too. So how does your intuition make itself known to you?
Well, for me, so it's a knowing, which is really weird, because it's like, how do you know that you know, but you just know? It's the weirdest thing. And, you know, things will come in and just like, well, how do I know this? Obviously empathic. When I did Reiki training, I think the lady that was teaching sort of knew, and a lady had come in and broken her wrist, and she looked at me and she sent me over, and I put the hands on the lady, and I just looked at her because I just got all her pain. And I went, oh, why are you here? I think you really need to go to hospital.
And did she stay?
Yeah, so it's feeling, so working with the body and then starting to feel things and people's pain was a strong one for me. But then as I've developed, obviously, the third eye, so it's that knowing, it's that sense of empathic, but also very visual. So I say it's like charades. I get a lot of information that comes in through my third eye. So basically I get images, but then I also feel, so if spirit wants to come in, I just, again, it's just a felt sense that they're with me. So again, as I've adjusted and learned about energy, I'm able to perceive that energy as well.
Yeah. So you must have had some pretty interesting experiences then. Have you got one or two you can tell us about just quickly? I know you've probably got thousands, but
I wouldn't say thousands, but I've definitely got many. And I think there's a few that stand out to me. And I remember, so basically being a body worker, I didn't really have time for this mediumship or psychic stuff. So during COVID, I joined a group online in America. After I'd brought a book from a lady, and we were doing little breakout readings, and I was doing a reading for a lady, and her daughter had come through to me who had passed. And I said to her, I said, look, I have to say these words, and they're the strangest things I've ever known. I said, but I have to say I love you more than 10 pounds of chicken. I know, I'm getting tingles because this was a real pivotal moment, because I'm like, what on the earth? And the lady looked at me and she said she nearly fell off a chair. She said because that was her thing. She said that no one would ever know other than her and her daughter. She said because that was what she said to her every night.
Wow.
Before she went to bed. So it makes me a little bit emotional, this stuff.
I reckon.
And I remember
how old was your daughter?
Her daughter, she was young and she'd passed, so she was coming through. So that was, like a bit of a wow moment. And my teacher said to me, look, if you ever doubt yourself, she said, always remember the 10 pounds of chicken. And I did, because it was such a weird thing. And that's what I find. And some of the weirdest things, and having to speak up with it is it really important, because we don't understand it, and the information is not about us and it's not for us, but it speaks to the person. That's
true.
So that's one of my memorable. I've got a lady that come in who's always been with me, and I psychically saw a ginger cat, and I said to her, she was just getting dressed, and I nearly forgot at the end of the session, and I said to her, I won't name names,
No.
and I said, what would a ginger cat mean to you? And she looked at me and she said, really? I said, yes. She said, well, she said, I'll tell you a story, cut it short. She said, but one of her friends had passed away, and she was a non-believer and she was a believer. And they'd made a pact that her friend was to come back as a ginger cat.
How cool.
Yes. She left in tears. I was in tears. It was such an incredible moment and gift that I was able to give to her. And as I say, it was just something so simple that meant so much. And I nearly forgot to even share it.
So that leads, so tell me, like the viewers won't necessarily know that one of the strings to your bow is massage.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, because when you're massaging somebody, obviously you're going to get messages and things for them and about them. And how do you deal with that? How do you, or do you deal with it, or do you pass it on, or what do you do?
Well, at first, when I first started my business, I had to sort of think about what I wanted to present and whether I would even tell people that I would do Reiki. So it was something I had to come to terms with myself. And it took me a long time to actually speak up, particularly when it was coming in. I'd be questioning myself, and a lot of the time I wouldn't share. But then I got to a point thinking, well, this again, it's not about me. This is for the person. So that's where I started sharing things. And when people come, I usually have a chat to them and say, look,
Yes.
and usually through the avenue of Reiki, and say, look, it gives me the ability to sense, see and feel. Are you okay if I share that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. And
so do you do it as you get it, or do you save it all up for the end?
well, it depends most of the time. And then I say, because the other thing was very cautious about was expectation. So I didn't want people coming to me expecting, and I still don't, expecting that I can give them something, because for me it doesn't work like that. If it comes, great. We put out the intention, and if people come in for a massage, they're coming for a massage, they're not coming for a reading.
That's
so
right.
It's been tricky, and I'm trying to navigate through that, but sometimes there's no separation, because sometimes, again, it's people's energy, it's where they're at. Some people walk in the door and I'll get lots, other times I'll get nothing.
That's interesting. Yes.
And it can be tricky, because some things, people don't always may want to acknowledge, or they've forgotten, or obviously there's deep emotional healing, or some trauma that's around.
Yes. I know, because
or they might not believe. Like, I'm thinking there was another lady that come to me, and she would not believe, and her mother come through to me, and I was able to say a couple of things that the mother was sharing, and she walked out, and I never saw her again. And that happens too, because it's sometimes it's so left of field for people that it can be uncomfortable. So it's tricky. I have to pick and choose, and as I say, but hopefully mostly I attract the people that I can share with. And that's my ultimate, we do the best work together, because I need to be able to work with them.
That's right. So I did a reading. I used to do reflexology. I don't anymore, but I was doing reflexology on a friend's feet one day, and became aware of this energy that wanted to make itself known to her. And I described the person, and it was her father. And she didn't really want to know about it, because even though she believes in that kind of thing, she had not liked her father, and she couldn't believe, or found it difficult to accept that from the other side he might be trying to make amends, or telling her that he loved her or whatever, when it wasn't the kind of thing, that wasn't the way he lived his life while he was here. So I guess that's a risk too, is that what you bring through is from somebody who they don't want to know about.
That's it. Or they have an expectation of someone they do want to hear from, and they don't come through. So I've had to deal with that as well. It is, and it is. It's, and trying to convey what they're sending through from spirit to get through to the person. And like you say, whether they want to know about that or not. But also, again, I was doing a card reading group, and a lady, her father came through, and he actually physically appeared right in front of me. And sometimes they will. And what was really amazing was that the information that I'd shared in the card reading and connecting with him was exactly what she had experienced that morning for herself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of tears. Sometimes it's hard to not, I get emotional as well, because it can be, I feel it's such an honour. To be able to share that.
Exactly.
And again, that was such validation for her, because and for me as well.
Is there anybody in particular who you follow on YouTube who's in the spiritual realm, or an author, or anybody?
I do. Look, there's quite a number. Obviously, I follow some mediums. Susan Giesman, she's got an amazing story and lots of books. Dolores Cannon's work. There's a guy, obviously John Edward, back in the earlier days, I've seen him. There's a guy here, Peter Williams. He's a local medium, so I attend. And energy healers as well, so someone like Charlie Goldsmith. Yeah, there's quite a number, and some astrology like Ronnie Weiser. Yeah, so there's lots of different
That's
ones.
cool. Yes.
Yeah. And what am I reading? Lots of books. So Mitchell Coombs is one that I'm reading at the moment. What's that lady? I can't think of her name.
Fair enough. You've given us plenty to be going along with there.
Lisa Williams. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I've got a couple of hers on my bookshelf, actually. They're not to mine. I hasten to add, they belong to a cousin. But they're great reading. Yeah. So have you got an altar?
Not as such, no. I've got a room. Pretty much
Even
my
better.
massage room is where I come to do, my work. I've got lots of, pretty things and healing bowls and crystals and, my cards and, all of that, and my drum. So I do use sound as well. So I use crystal singing bowls and a drum. And obviously the oils.
I was going to ask you what you've got on your altar. Okay, fell in there.
And some spiritual art as well. So over the years, I've connected with people that have done some drawings for me as well.
Yes.
Too. So that's a nice validation, I think. When that was another experience. I'd done a course. I'd met my guide again. He appeared in front of me and scared the life out of me, because he was so intimidating. I just couldn't deal with him at the time. And years later, I went to have a drawing done, and he appeared. And she looked at me and she said, "You know him, he's here." And I said, "Yes." And she was able to draw him. So, and I've actually had a past life with him as well. So I know that and the connection. So
I'm very much into past lives.
Yeah,
I know when I first got into spiritual things, the whole idea of past lives I couldn't get past it, if you excuse the pun. I couldn't get past it for a while, and now I think, it doesn't have the pull, although, but anyway, I'll leave that part there.
It's interesting because it's all, I feel that it is all relevant in understanding the deeper aspects of who we are.
Yes,
and I think sometimes we have to go back. It's not only this lifetime and the experiences, but sometimes we've got to go back to have a look at, because they can be blocks, and I've had that too.
Yes. Or we're carrying somebody else's expectations or hopes or whatever that we've kind of inherited.
But also too, they bring the gifts. Like I know a few of my lives and who I was. So there's aspects of things that I feel very strongly connected to, because I think, I'm this version of myself. Why would I be into that? And I think that's what happens with people when they put up things that are around their home or get tattoos, and that comes through with the reading actually. With a girl, and I'm like, "Oh, are you into this?" And it's like, because this was a part of your past life, and it's part of your soul. And having that connection.
So I'm going to ask you about your grandmother, and and you know what question I'm going to ask, because we talked about it earlier, but I am completely in love with the whole idea of having been raised in a household that either contained my grandmother or in a household that physically was quite close to that of my grandmother. And having a grandmother who sat at the kitchen table and read tarot cards for the neighbours. Now that sure as heck didn't happen for me, but I would love to meet somebody for whom that was part of their life, because I think it just to be, it's almost like a stew, STEW, of juices that they must have absorbed. So did that happen for you? Did your grandmother sit at the kitchen table and read tarot?
No, definitely not. No, unfortunately, no. My family didn't have, so they had a very strong Catholic influence from what I understand. So, and there was no real sense of spirituality. My dad was a an atheist.
Yes.
He was a
Yeah.
non-believer. And when I was growing up and started getting into this or opening up, I was really pissed off there for a while that I hadn't. It was probably good that I didn't have those influences, but I also was a bit disappointed that no one had really helped point me in a direction as well too. But then I also got to explore things in my own way.
Yes.
But I do have a friend, and she was lucky enough to have her grandmother gift her tarot cards, and
Wow.
really old and
A little goosebumpy.
I met her some time ago. She was living here in Tassie. She's not here anymore, but I won a free reading with her actually.
Cool.
And she come and she brought these really old tarot cards. Well, they're a different type of tarot, but they were her grandmother's, so they're really special to her.
Wow, that's amazing.
So for some, they're very lucky to have that influence, but not for me. But I'm kind of glad too.
Yeah, fair enough. So what's next for you, Nicole? Do you have any particular aspirations or a course that you've got your eye on, or a course that you want to run?
Look, good question. I have been told by many people that I am a teacher.
Yeah.
I get ideas and downloads. I haven't fully stepped into that. I'm still doing my thing. I'm very cautious about doing courses these days because I've done so many of them that I'm a little bit coursed out.
Yes.
And I like to just trust in my own intuition now and what's coming through. And so I think for me, focusing on readings, just getting out there, being able to help more people and connect with people, particularly online, is where my focus is at the moment. And I think I have been told that I'll write books, but who knows?
Yes.
I'm a little bit over trying to work it out.
I agree. There's definitely value in just accepting what life sends your way when it arrives.
And again, like meeting you, that just come out of left of centre.
Left field.
Never know what's around the corner.
So far we've talked about your massage practice, and we've alluded to readings that you do. So tell the viewers what it is that you do, all the things that you offer, because they won't know.
So massage, obviously people can come for body work. I do remedial massage, so I pretty much tailor it to what people need. So if they come, and I use cupping and hot stones as my tools. So the stones sat on the shelf for a long time and didn't really get much use, and I really didn't like cupping at all. But again, I've changed over the years, and so I use those as therapeutic tools. As I mentioned before, I use sound. So it depends on the person and what they want. I really try and get to know someone and get to know their life a little bit and what it is that they need and how I can help them. And then if it's a reading or if someone comes through, well, we can dabble into that, and obviously energetic work too. I haven't really mentioned that. So I have an ability to be able to tap into people's energies and work with their energy and channel energy. So that becomes part of the session.
But you do distance healings too, don't you?
So I can do distance healings or readings. So again, I use Reiki as my platform, and I guess the symbols in that, but crystals, but cards as well. So, but also I connect in, and I'll get guides that will channel or come in and show themselves to me. So again, it's kind of that unknown, just opening up and using the tools. And obviously, again, depending on what someone needs or wants as well too.
I'm curious to know whether you actually have kind of set offerings, or whether the likes of me could front up at your front door and say, "Oh, help me, this is happening," and you decide what it is that I need. Or do you work that way as well?
Well, yes and no. Firstly, I would prefer that you go to my website and look at my social media to check out my trainings and backgrounds, what it is that I offer. So on my website, and then you hit the book now, which takes you to my Acuity site, which has all the listings. So Yeah, so you can come in and I can do a purely physical treatment on you, or you can come in and I can do a soul healing on you, or I can do a reading or an energy session. So it's really up to the client, as I say, in their openness, or we might start with something and then it will evolve.
Yes.
You know,
I like the sound of that.
As we work together,
Yeah.
you know, I've again had people come in and they can't see anything, and they're like, "Oh, I'm seeing colours today," or
Yeah.
and then they're telling me the experiences that
Yes.
they had. So yeah, it's all a bit out there, really.
Yeah.
And I do kahuna massage as well too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I love kahuna massage, and that was again instrumental in opening me up intuitively as well,
Yeah.
with
Yes.
the practices. And so I've done lots of trainings, but it's all a part of the toolkit, and massage is the base from which I build from. But obviously kahuna is a very spiritual, energetic massage, full body, you know, different experience. It's very high vibration as well, so it lifts people up, you know, and it lifts me up. Like, this work lifts me up. You know, some people go, "Oh, I'm really drained," but I find I get really high.
Oh, good on you.
So staying grounded is something I have to work at.
Finish this sentence for me, Nicole. Nothing like putting you on the spot, is there? In a perfect world, ... Okay.
I'm not sure that there's a perfect world.
Try this one. If I had a magic wand, that's an easier one, eh? What would you do if you had a magic wand?
I would heal the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, that's in my heart. Yeah.
So much. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah. There's big stuff going on in this world, and it's quite challenging. Being the way that we are and the insights that we have. But I do hold the faith that there is a bigger plan, and that things will evolve and change, and we're just on rocky ground.
Cool. Thanks, Nicole. It's been lovely speaking with you today. I'll get you to send me your your social media links and things, so we can pop them in the comments underneath here. And if people want to contact you for something, or if they want to go and check out your website.
Yeah, and I do have a group which is Radiant Heart Connection. So basically that's a group, again, because I was the massage therapist, I found I was sharing a lot of other things that weren't associated with massage. So I've created a page where I can do free online readings. Yeah, this is on Facebook, so that's called Radiant Heart Connection. So people are welcome to join that. Other people obviously are part of the group. They can share. So it's a bit of a community group.
Right.
Then I have my Light Art of Massage page where people can come and find me, you know, and that's my main platform. And then I have Mystic Nick, which is on TikTok and Instagram as well. So that's again.
How do you find time for massage with all of that going on?
Oh, well,
okay.
You know.
So we'll probably wrap it up now, Nicole. So once again, thank you so much, and we will see you again.
All right. Well, thank you. And
okay.
God bless.
All right. Bye now.